writing on my thing, feedback, so I'm paying attention.
Alright, so throughout this presentation today, we will highlight the national curriculum in PE and how it can be effective towards people's health in the UK. Alongside that, we'll also include how PE can be more inclusive for groups of people.
First, we're going to talk about how active are we. It's actually true that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 5 men are classed as physically active. As you can see from the stats, that's not a lot. And it's known that men are more likely than women to average 6 or more hours of sitting time, both on weekdays and weekends. And here are just a few moderate physical activity stuff that you can do to be more active, but obviously it's proven that as a city we're not very active at all.
Okay, so UK inactivity is increasing more and more over the years. Goodman states that there's more walking and cycling routes in the UK. However, people that don't drive can't get to the routes, and people that drive choose not to do them because they're able to drive. So yeah, so this little infograph here shows how inactive the population is. So obviously London is the highest with over 1 million people inactive. And obviously you've got Yorkshire on there, East Midlands, North East. So yeah, we're a very inactive country.
The health agenda's impact on children. The health agenda has a huge impact on children as there's this very stereotypical look implemented by social media that people should look and act a certain type of way. As backed up by Stengel et al. 2019, he highlights that the social norms of body image is the way you look and present yourself. Therefore, if you've got a child that's just got a phone for Christmas or birthday, for example, and then they go on Instagram and they see this model looking a certain type of way and they're very different, it's then implemented so that they need to look like that. So the health agenda has a huge impact on children today.
Alright, so the health agenda when it comes to obesity. Obesity is a rising thing within children, within adults, and there's nothing that, other than PE, can sort of highlight the importance of how important it is to be active to decrease the rates of obesity. So obesity harms children and young people as well as adults. It can also include emotional behaviour. It can create a low self-esteem towards people and how they feel about themselves. It can also be something that people pick on, so it can create bullying. People get bullied for being obese, and it can also increase the chances of breathing difficulties as well.
Here is just a graph, and it shows how the increase in obesity over a decade, which I just want to look closely at. If they look within the COVID times, obesity, it rise by over 10%. So we can see that during COVID, when people was unable to be less active, it rose drastically, which coming out of COVID led, again, as Isabel said, leads to more bullying, going back to school through drastic changes. And this is just another one that shows the difference when after COVID, because this is 2021, with 10 to 11-year-olds, the overweight and obesity, the obesity side rises drastically.
So the impact on PE that this has. So research has shown that participation levels increase too much from primary school to secondary school, and that sometimes puts the children off because they see too much of a jump in the curriculum from primary to secondary. They see it as more difficult. This suggests that part of the reason of this is that's why participation rates decrease as they get older, because they lose interest in it, they find it more difficult, the jump is too high from primary to secondary, and that's why people lose interest.
Now we're going to talk about our issue. So our issue is where we feel that people are more inclusive for children within SEN, such as ADHD. So we're going to talk about target groups and ADHD. So what is ADHD? ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It's a condition that affects people's behaviours, it makes them restless, and it may cause trouble concentrating, make them act on an impulse. Symptoms with ADHD tend to be noticed at quite a young age, but it may become more obvious as the child goes through like a change of circumstances, for example, moving from primary school to secondary school, moving house, moving schools in general, because they're having to adapt to a whole new schedule, a whole new environment, so it's quite difficult for them.
ADHD within children. ADHD is seen as a barrier when participating in PE. However, PE can be seen as an energy booster. So it's a way for people to burn off their energy. It's a way for people to have some fun. They're staying active. Their brain's busy. They're involved. Studies have also shown that educators have come forward and stated that they aren't supporting the area of people with ADHD or autism for that matter. So they're not trained on ways to specifically deal with hidden disabilities, which makes it difficult for them to be able to teach people with hidden disabilities as well.
Moving on, McCallum also states that a huge issue is related to the developmental disorders that are not frequently addressed within PE courses which avoid the situation being dealt with. So, for example, they're trying to say that it's quite rare that you get children with ADHD, so they kind of just push it to the side. They're not actually putting effort and time and the funding's into being able to adapt the lessons and work around children with ADHD. This is a huge issue across the whole of the population. Being physically active is a huge benefit for children with ADHD. It's actually known that physical activity can be used as a complementary or an alternative non-pharmacological treatment for ADHD, as it releases endorphins, it relaxes them. So, say if they have PE at the start of the school day, then they're releasing all the energy, so then they'll be able to focus throughout the rest of the day.
Okay, so PE being inclusive. So early exercise can help to increase clarity and attention span for academic lessons. So if students with ADHD was to carry out a PE lesson before school, or if there was like a breakfast club, etc., where they could be physically active before their lessons start, their attention span would be extremely more adequate for the day in front of them. Therefore, as a PE teacher, this should be promoted in order to give the children with the hidden disabilities, such as ADHD, benefits, allow them to put that into practice, allow them to be able to carry that out and see if it works. Do you know what I mean? So you sort of like pushing, as a PE teacher, if you know that, you should be pushing for that to be happening.
And this is just inclusive adaptations. Lesson plans, for example, it gives ADHD children a more structured understanding as to what they're going to be doing. For example, if you have a lesson plan and you say we're going to do this, this, this and this, it gives the child time to then process what we're going to be doing. It's not going to be such a shock to, oh, I weren't told we're doing this, I weren't told we were doing that. So then they act better within the lesson because they're preparing themselves for what they're about to take part in. And it's known that people with ADHD are known to have a good routine, so a lesson plan would benefit them massively. By carrying out such strategies with good time management, it's also allowing the pupils' socialisation to be improved as well.
Okay then, to conclude what's been stated in this presentation, research has shown that the UK activity levels need improving massively. This was proven by statistics within obesity, and also physical educators not being given the support that they need in order to be able to carry out lessons that are suitable for people with hidden disabilities. So maybe something needs to be handed out in order to support them a little bit more. And finally, the health agenda is a huge barrier across the UK for participation rates.